Okay, so we're going to jump into multiplying and dividing radicals for Algebra Notes 2-5, but I'm realizing that we never talked about getting the cube root in the calculator up here, so I'm going to jump back to this for a second and do this real quick. So cubed root in the calculator, finding that root with a radical of 3, you are going to first go to the math button, and then boom, it's actually right there. That root of 3 is that third or that fourth choice right there. And if you wanted a index of something other than a 3, you would just use choice 5 where it has the x there instead, and it's telling you to kind of, you could put in whatever you want that root to be. So we're going to do math, and then it's choice 4 for that cubed root. So cubed root in the calculator, you hit the math button, and then it's choice 4, that stupid. Okay, so now, moving on, looking at, my computer would function with me, multiplying and dividing radicals. So first thing that we need to remember is that kind of like when we're dealing with exponents, multiplying and dividing exponents, like x to the a times x to the b, that stuff we did earlier this unit, you have to have the same exponent, the same index, just like you have to have the same bases when you're dealing with the exponents. So these must have the same index. That's going to be important. So if you have the square root of a times the square root of b, and notice I know that those are square roots because they do not have a visible index. No visible index on there means I'm assuming it's a 2. So the square root of a times the square root of b is just equal to the square root of whatever a times b is. It's that simple. And we can also go backwards from that. If I'm starting off with the square root of ab, I can break that up into the square root of a factor a times the square root of a factor b. You know, just kind of telling you that this is a little bit, oops, that's not the one I wanted, that this is kind of cyclic, like swoopity, swoopity kind of thing, you know? So looking at this first example here, if I have the square root of 15 times the square root of 8, that would be the square root of whatever 15 times 8 is, which we can quickly go do. Not that one. That one. 15, 15 times 8, which is 120. So that would give me the square root of 120. That would be the directions if it said to simplify. If it asked me to evaluate, I would then come to the calculator, plug in the square root of 120, and write down that decimal if it was asking me to evaluate. But this is it, just simplifying. So let's take a look at example 2. Here, the difference between example 1 and example 2 are, if you can't tell already, are those coefficients or those 3 and that 4 on the outside being multiplied. Now, the first thing we want to point out here is that this 3 and this 4 are not indexes. Those are just multiplication right there. So similar to the way that we would multiply something like 4x, actually, well, let me make that even more simpler. The way that we would multiply 3x times 4y, you know, that would get us 3 times 4 is 12xy. We're going to do the same kind of like pairing together process here. The 3 times that 4 is going to give me that 12. And then inside my square root, I'm going to have the 2 times the 5, which naturally we can simplify to 12 times the square root of 10, or 12 square roots of 10. So again, you're just multiplying those corresponding pieces. And we're going to jot that down real quick. So we are multiplying corresponding pieces. That coefficient on the outside times that coefficient on the outside, except it's not a coefficient because it doesn't have a variable. All right, so that was multiplying. We'll take a look at division in the next one.